It's a new 105.3 The Beat. Is the voice of DJ Scream. Of course, we got a special guest today. This young lady has been making a lot of noise online on the internet. She is running from Congress. She is a Georgia native and Atlanta native. Welcome to Hood Rich Radio, Nabilah Islam. Did I say that correctly?
You said it perfectly. Thanks for having me on today.
How you doing? Everything good with you?
Everything's great. I'm just trying to, self-quarantine as much as possible and virtually campaign, and I think we're doing a really great job thus far.
So let me ask you, as a native, and you went to high school right here in Atlanta in Gwinnett County, and you went to Georgia State University. What was the moment that you chose to get into politics? Like, what was the defining moment where you were like, I want to dedicate my energy and my time to becoming a politician and running for whatever election it may be?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Gwinnett County, which is 85% of this district of the 7th. And growing up here, this is the 4th most diverse county in the entire country. But I never saw representation that looked like our community. And so for so long, I felt like our community leaders looked at our diversity as a problem rather than an opportunity. And leadership was mostly Republican and white, from school board all the way to Congress. And that made me realize that if we don't want to be, you need to be at the table, or if you're not, then you're put on the menu. And so I realized that we need to help elect more Democrats up and down the ballot. And it made me want to help make an impact in my community, which is why I'm running today, because I think this district needs a bold progressive voice at the table to make sure that we actually have a voice.
So obviously you speak of the population in Gwinnett and the minorities that are there, but you said there's a disconnection as far as officials getting elected into office. And, I represent, for quite honest, some younger people that they're not all excited about politics. I try to explain to them the importance of voting and, using your voice. But what do you think the disconnection is? Do you think it may be like in the Democratic Party, some of the candidates that are running, or do you feel like the disconnection is just that the people don't know, like the younger people don't have the knowledge, they don't understand why they should vote, or they don't even know if they can vote, they just don't care? Like, what do you think the pure disconnection is there?
So I think here in this district, we're seeing more reflective leadership in just the past, 4 years, which is wonderful, which is great, which is what we need. As far as young people, I feel like our generation is still coming of age, and you're going to start to see more people like myself. I'm 30 years old running for office. The average age in this district is about 35 years old. And so folks like me are starting to come out and run for office, up and down the ballot. And I feel like with young people, we have social media right now. People are getting more and more connected, more than ever, on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, and they're learning more about these issues that affect them on a day-to-day basis. And so it's important that they come out during these primaries and during the general election if we're going to, flip this district blue and take back the White House.
Now, for general people that vote, and this is just an open conversation, when you get a moment like shouts to Charlemagne Breakfast Club and Joe Biden, when you get a moment where he made the quote that he made, first, do you feel like that affects the entire Democratic Party, like even coming down to you, because it might, push some people to lose some motivation, like, oh, how could he say such a thing? Whether you kind of agree with it, didn't agree with it, whatever the case is, but do you feel like it affects the entire party? And how do you make the people that want to support the Democratic Party, but they're kind of on the edge, comfortable to support Democrats such as yourself? That's what I'm getting at.
Sure. To his comments, they were poor comments, and he apologized for them. But look, at the end of the day, you have to earn everyone's vote. You can't, expect to have it. Right. And I think for so long, people have just felt left behind. And that's why I'm running as a bold progressive and advocating for transformational policies that are actually going to help our communities. Like, not just, hey, let's maintain the status quo. Like, hey, status quo isn't working for me.
Right.
We need to be, working to make sure that people have health care. 20% of my district, they don't have access to healthcare because they can't afford to go see a doctor, including myself, because it's hard to pay for rent and your health insurance at the same time while you're running full time. People need to make living wages. In the richest country in the world, folks are working 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And not only that, our immigration system is broken, our criminal justice system is broken. I think it's important that we continue to talk about the problems within our communities and how we're actually going to solve them, and not shy away from talking about things that are actually affecting our communities.
Absolutely. What's your take on I guess on prison reform and when it comes to the prison topic as far as your campaign is concerned?
Yes, I mean, we have you broke up for a second. Do you mind repeating your question?
Okay, so what's your take on prison reform as it pertains to your campaign?
Sure. So America has a mass incarceration problem. We lock up more people than any other country in the entire world when we only have 5% of the world's population. And right now, our criminal justice system is punitive. It doesn't focus on helping people and rehabilitating people. In my district, in Gwinnett County, we have one of the largest pretrial detention centers in the entire country, inside my district. And that's unacceptable. Right now, we're locking up people because they can't afford cash bail. That's unacceptable. I believe that we need to abolish private prisons and private detention centers, that we need to make sure that we have rehabilitative programs for people, and that we also end the war on drugs. We need to be legalizing marijuana at the federal level and making sure that, folks aren't being locked up in jail for nonviolent offenses.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, coming back a little more to the local level, the biggest debate right now and the biggest division amongst people, and it's not necessarily as it pertains to a political party, is opening Georgia or Atlanta, keeping Georgia or Atlanta closed. The mayor has one take on it. The governor has another take on it. This past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, we saw the clubs wall to wall, bars wall to wall, parks crowded. What's your take? What's the answer in a situation like this? Because obviously, if we stay shut down too long, we know the economic impact that it can have on families. But in the same time, we want to be healthy. So, what does Nabilah feel about that particular debate amongst the people? Because it's become amongst the people. It's not even the politicians no more. Like, you got people. I went out, and one person didn't have a mask and everybody else had a mask. I had my mask. And then they got in an argument, like right in the post office. It's like, you should have a mask. I don't have to have a mask. It's a free country. Like, it's getting crazy. So what would you say? Like, what is your take on that whole spiel?
Absolutely. Look, I think Donald Trump and his administration has completely failed, bungled the response to COVID-19. First off, we should have had a national testing program. We should have had a contact tracing program as well to self-isolate folks that have this virus, so in order to contain it, making sure that our essential workers have PPE. I mean, these are some of the things that other countries implemented, and they were able to dramatically decrease the spread of the virus, and they're now reopening up their economies. I think right now we are seeing the hardest hit people from COVID-19 in Georgia are working people, and if you saw that article, about 80% of the hospitalizations of folks from COVID-19 are African Americans. This is disproportionately hitting Black and brown people, working people that have no choice but to go back to work, even though they can't work from home. My mom, she works at a facility in Norcross. She can't work from home. And the other day, she woke up feeling really sick, and I had to take her to go get a test. And they told her, stay home until you get your results back. They haven't given us the results. And I called them this morning. I was like, look, my mom needs to go back to work. She needs to earn an income. And they're like, oh, we have a backlog right now. This is too difficult. We're waiting on results. I think that we need to safely reopen the economy, making sure that, people have we have more tests available to people so that we can find out who actually has this virus. I mean, going to the club is you have the right to do that, but like, we saw in Seoul, South Korea, where someone went to the club and infected, dozens of people, and they had to go on another lockdown. I mean, folks are just not taking this seriously, and like, we're not wearing masks the way we need to. And I think that's just an absolute failure of Donald Trump, Brian Kemp not leading from the front and making sure that folks know how serious the situation is.
Absolutely. So June 9th is a big day. You're running for Congress. Everybody can go out to vote. Let me say, first off, for people that aren't comfortable going out, and you can educate them to vote, educate them on how they can still exercise their right to vote. Because some people are like, I'm not going to polls because of COVID and I'm staying in the house. But I've been trying to educate people, but I want you to also educate people on how they can still exercise their right to vote, even during the COVID crisis.
Yes. So everyone, please exercise your constitutional right to vote. Your voices need to be heard. We need you at the table. You can vote from the safety of your home. The Secretary of State has mailed out absentee ballot request forms. You can still fill that in and mail it or email it, and you'll get a ballot in the mail. And that way you can vote from home. Now, if you must, you can also go early vote. Make sure you have a mask. Make sure you have gloves on. And there are early voting locations right now. And then there's also Election Day voting on June 9th. But what I do want to stress is that, you know, this district where I'm from, the 7th district, is a majority minority district. It's never had reflective representation. I'm a big believer that communities like mine should have leadership that looks like the community, that understands their lived experiences. And if we want people that understand the struggles that we go through, we need to vote for them in the primary so that they can make it out and become the nominee in the general. It's crucial that we have young people, people of color, and immigrants come out and make their voices be heard.
And just for clarity and for education purposes, the 7th district is the Gwinnett district?
Yeah, so the 7th district is Gwinnett County and Southeast Forsyth. It is an open seat. It's also a seat that the Republican only won by 419 votes. So it was the closest election in the entire country. It's a seat that Stacey Abrams won when she ran for governor. It's a flippable district. And so I really believe we can not only flip this district blue, but give it the representation that it deserves, as well as the progressive policies that are going to actually help our communities.
Okay. Well, Nabilah, I appreciate you joining me today, taking the time out. What you're doing online is amazing. I followed you on Twitter, and I think that a lot of we could talk about like all of the issues, right? There's so many issues that need to be addressed, and I could tell that just so I could tell my listeners and my audience that it's something you're passionate about. It's not just a political spill to try to get in office, but I could tell that you're passionate about it. And when you win, not if, when you win, that you're actually going to make a difference for that district. So I salute you for that. And please give everybody your website and your socials and everything if everybody wants to keep up with you in your campaign.
Sure. You can, if you're interested in learning more or volunteering or contributing, you can go to my website at nabilahforcongress.com. That's NABILAHFORcongress.com. And you can check me out on Twitter at Nabilah for GA07. And that's the same thing for my Instagram as well.
Okay. That's what's up, Nabilah Islam. It's going down. Make sure June 9th you exercise your right to vote. It's DJ Scream. Appreciate you. Be safe.
Thank you. You too. Everyone wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
All right. Take care.
Take care.